Hello and welcome. It's yours truly, Brian Earl, here at Christmas Past headquarters in sunny San Mateo, California. I hope wherever you are in the world, it's somewhere nice and that you are happy, healthy, and full of the Christmas spirit, just like I am every day, and my guest is as well. So let's give a nice warm welcome to Joe in Michigan. Hi, Joe. Thanks so much for being here.
How's it going?
Very well, thanks, and I hope you're doing well too. I have a question for you, Joe. If I say Christmas, what's the first word that comes into your mind?
It's got to be tree, Christmas tree.
Christmas tree,
I
right?
love, yeah, I love putting up Christmas trees and decorating them. But right after that, for my family,
Yeah.
it's comic books. We go in, we get a bunch of Christmas comic books. They
hmm
come out usually once a year, and we've collected them over the years. And now we're reading. We sit around reading Christmas comic stories whenever we get a chance.
And we'll have a little bit more to say on that later on. But now I have another question for you. So that is the way that you answered this question as an adult. Fill in the blank. Christmas. You said tree. Let's imagine that you're 5 years old and I say Christmas. What do you think would be the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, gifts,
Gifts.
gifts for sure. Gifts, yeah.
Exactly. And of course, when you're 5 years old, who brings the gifts but our good old friend Santa Claus, which sounds like the makings of a really fun
Yep.
game of Christmas trivia. So let's have at it. This is Christmas Trivia, the All Santa edition. Before we get started, let me explain the game for you. We're going to go in 4 rounds, as always, with 5 questions each. Each correct answer is worth 1 point. No points are taken off for an incorrect answer. And as always, I can award partial points or even bonus points at my discretion. Are you ready for round one, Joe?
Yep. Sounds
All
good.
right. Round number one is multiple choice. And in each round, every question follows either a similar format or a similar theme. This one is all about Santa before he was famous. Of course, I'm talking about St. Nicholas. Before there was a Santa, there was a St. Nicholas who was indeed a real person. Answer 4 questions correctly about St. Nicholas, and we will see how you do. Or rather, 5 questions, I'm sorry. Question number
Okay.
one. St. Nicholas was a real person from the 4th century who lived where? Is it A, Turkey, B, the Netherlands, or C, Spain?
Turkey, a
It is
turkey.
Turkey. And to qualify that, it's actually modern day Turkey. It was called Mira back then, but you are correct. Number two, St. Nicholas Day is a celebration marking his birthday, and it's still observed today in parts of the world. When is St. Nicholas Day? Is it December 6th, December 16th, or December 21st?
December 6th.
It is indeed December 6th. Very good job. Question number three. He was always devout in his religious practices, St. Nicholas was, as evidenced by what? Is it A, he carried several prayer books in a sack wherever he went, which many believe is the origin of Santa's bag of gifts? Is it B, as a baby, he reportedly refused to breastfeed every Wednesday and Friday as a religious observance? Or C, he authored a book on best practices for religious observance?
I'll go with he authored a book.
Maybe he did, but that is not the one that we have for him. It's actually, believe it or not, it's a legend that he refused to breastfeed on days where fasting was mandated by religion. And no, he actually did not author anything. So, all right, couple more
Okay.
questions to go. He was a priest who eventually became a bishop. How did that happen? Was it A, he was appointed to the position by the Emperor Constantine? Was it B, he walked around calling himself a bishop and eventually everyone just went along with it? Or C, after the old bishop died, the priests in the city decided that whatever priest was first to walk into church that day would be the new bishop?
Hmm. I'm gonna go B. I think he just started calling himself one.
That would have been awesome, right? But no, the correct answer, believe it or not, is C. After the old bishop died, the priests were
Oh,
just like, all right, whoever the first one into the church today, that's the new bishop, and it happened to have been St. Nicholas. Imagine how different Christmas would be today had that not been the case way back then. One more question for this round. St. Nicholas is the patron saint for many different groups of people, including whom? A, pawnbrokers, B, saddle makers, or C, goat herders?
I'll go pawnbrokers.
It is, in fact, pawnbrokers. Really good job there. And as a matter of fact, there's an old legend about St. Nicholas that he rescued a poor family from a life of destitution by throwing gold coins into their house secretly in the night. And if you look at the symbol for pawnbrokers, there's a pawnbrokers guild that actually has these three little gold circles, and many believe that that is actually a reference to St. Nicholas being their patron saint. Cool.
Oh,
So at the end of round one, you are on the board with 3 points. Really good job. So let's get back to something we were talking about before. You were talking about comics that are Christmas related. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What kind of comics you're interested in?
well, around Christmas every year, the major companies come out with Christmas comics. They're kind of works of love, where a bunch of the artists and writers make these short little, like, 6 to 7 page stories, and they all have different Christmas topics. And over time, my family's collected a bunch of them. And right around Thanksgiving, we start bringing them out, and we read them every year. We share them with the kids, and and now I've been doing a podcast. I'm going to start a podcast where we cover all of them and go over the different ones of each different year and explain the good parts, the bad parts, the funny parts.
Well, that sounds super. And by the way, anyone who's interested in that, and of course you should be, check out the show notes below. I'll put some links down there. Really looking forward to a great season of Christmas themed comic book podcast from Joe. Sounds really exciting. So let's move on to round two. Round two is the Mall Santa Over Under Challenge. So, Mall Santas.
Okay.
You've sat in a Mall Santa's lap, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like most children. Well, we're going to ask you 5 questions, and for each question, all you have to do is tell me whether the figure that I give you is over or under the actual figure. You'll get a sense as we go through. Question number 1 is the companies that recruit Mall Santas place applicants into different categories. Is the number of primary categories over or under 5?
I'm going to go under.
It is under. I'll give you a bonus point if you can name any one of the categories that the recruiting firms might use when hiring Mall Santas.
I'm going to go real beard versus fake beard.
Exactly right. So the correct, and all right, bonus point for you. The correct answer is that there are two categories, and it's just bearded or not bearded. So technically you should have 2 bonus points, but I'm only going to give you 1. I'm going to make you work for the rest of them. Okay. Question number 2. Many shopping malls give out pagers to parents so that they can be notified when Santa is ready to see your child. Is the proportion of malls that do this over or under 25%?
I've never seen that, so I'm going to go under.
It is, believe it or not, over. According to the source that I checked, it is 50% of malls provide that service. All right, 3 more questions to go. Is the body weight of the average mall Santa over or under 200 pounds?
I'm going to go over.
It is over. The
he's
average. Average is 218 pounds. Very good. 1 more point for you. Question number 4. The average number of children per shopping mall who visit Santa is over or under 15,000.
I'm going to go over.
It was actually under. The average is 10,119.
Okay.
Final question for this round. Before there were mall Santas, there were department store Santas. The first example of which was James Edgar at his department store in Brockton, Massachusetts, which, by the way, is the town right next to the one where I grew up. Did he introduce this tradition before or after the year 1910?
I'm going to go after.
It was actually before. It was in 1890.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And I guess people came from all over, took the train in from Boston and Providence for that, and it became such a sensation that it caught on from there.
Oh,
All
wow.
right.
Okay.
At the end of round 2, you are looking good with 6 points. Not bad at all. So we mentioned that you're from Michigan, and I know that you grew up there as well. What's Christmas like in Michigan?
Well, I want to be able to say it's always picturesque, big, white, snowy Christmas, but it's always cold. But we may or may not get snow by December 25th. So it's sometimes a white Christmas.
Do you find that that has changed as you've grown up? Do you have more white Christmases when you were younger and now you're seeing less and less, or the other way around?
No, it's always been kind of hit or miss. Because I'm in the southern part of Michigan,
Hmm?
and occasionally we'll have a big snowfall before Christmas, but most of the time our snowfalls fall in January and February,
Hmm.
so we miss the big snowfalls before Christmas.
That's what it's like in New England too. I think I remember maybe one or two white Christmases in my life. The white, we'd have snow the day after Christmas or a couple days after Christmas, but January, February tends to be the snowy season. Well,
Yeah. Yep.
let's go on to round three. My favorite round. It's in all the games. Am I jingling your bell? In other words, am I pulling your leg? I'm going to read you 5 statements about Santa Claus, and all you have to do is tell me whether each one is true or false, or just something I made up. And if you want to say I'm jingling your bell, that would make things even more fun, but I'll leave that up to you. Question number one is this. The Santa suit worn by Edmund Gwynn in Miracle on 34th Street is now on display at the Smithsonian's Postal Museum, which is an homage to the role that the Postal Service played in that film.
I'm gonna go true.
That is false. Actually, and believe it or not,
Ah.
the suit was sold at auction in 2011. I think the asking price was somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000, and I wasn't able to find what it actually sold for. But it would be cool if it were in the museum
Okay.
so that we could all go check it out. Question number two. Every year, cities all over the US and some international locations host something called SantaCon, which is a Santa-themed cosplay convention.
Uh, um, I'm gonna say true.
It's totally true. And there's
Okay.
probably one in a city near you. I checked the listings as I was researching this game. There are like 5 or 6 near me in California. They're mostly free events, by the way. And if anyone's interested, check out the show notes. I'll put some links down there. Sounds like a really good time. SantaCon.
Okay.
All right. Question number three. St. Nicholas was said to have once resurrected 3 boys who had been hacked to death by an evil innkeeper.
I That's true, I think.
That is 100% true. By the way,
You're picking
everybody,
or
up
something?
show notes below. Check out my 3-part series on Santa from the podcast. We go into all of that and a lot more. There is much more to St. Nicholas than you probably know, and a lot of it is kind of weird, or at least not something you wouldn't expect when it comes to Christmas. So that was one of his legends anyway. Okay, question
Yeah.
number 4. Bill Murray was originally signed on to play Willie, the protagonist in the movie Bad Santa, but he dropped out to make Lost in Translation.
I think you're jingling my bell on that one.
Well, thank you for saying jingling my bell, but that one is also 100% true. And he was actually signed on, and before he was signed on, Jack Nicholson was not signed on, but was in talks to play the role, which of course eventually went to Billy Bob Thornton. All right. Question number 5 in this round. For nearly 20 years, A Visit from St. Nicholas, which was published in a New York paper in 1823, but for the 20 years after that, newspapers in Massachusetts were forbidden from reprinting it.
I'll go. I'm gonna say you're jingling my bell on that
I
one.
am totally jingling your bell on that. But you know what? Christmas was not a full legal public holiday in Massachusetts until around that time. It had been banned by the Puritans in the 17th century. The ban was lifted about 30 some odd years later. I forget exactly how much, but it wasn't recognized as a full holiday until the mid 19th century, in Massachusetts anyway. All right,
Okay.
so 2 points for that round. So we are up to 8 points total. Not bad at all. But now my question for you is, what is Family of Geek?
Family of Geek is the website I've been working on for the last 3 years. Myself and my family, um, we all love geek culture, pop culture, and so we write different articles. We've often got top 10 lists on there, and we do a little quiz section every week with rotating topics. This year we're going to do, or this week we've got the 9 scariest comic book characters
Hmm.
in honor, getting for Halloween. So that'll be posting on Saturday. So, and it's just something fun we've been doing for a couple of years now.
Sounds great. Yes, and by the way, we should mention we're recording this in October. But again, show notes below if you want to get more information about Den of Geek and everything, or Family of Geek rather, and everything else besides. So let's move on to our final round. And our final round is fill in the blank. So for every question, it's going to have a word or phrase missing. You just have to supply that word to earn a point. Ready?
Okay.
Question number 1. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus is a 1902 book written by L. Frank Baum, who's best known as the author of what?
Wizard of Oz.
Correct. Very good job. Question number 2. The role of Santa in the movie Elf was played by whom?
Ed Asner?
It was Ed Asner. Very good. Question number 3. In the 1970 stop-motion animation special Santa Claus is Coming to Town, a young Kris Kringle is shown as having what color hair?
Red.
Yes, he was a redhead, which now that we know he's from Turkey doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was kind of fun to look at. Question number 4. An 1849 short story called The Christmas Legend added what new character to the legend of Santa Claus?
Mrs. Claus?
Exactly right. You're on fire this round. Let's see if we can make it a clean sweep. Number 5. We're used to leaving out cookies and milk for Santa in America, but in Ireland it is not uncommon to leave out mince pie and this potent potable.
Shepherd's pie?
Well,
Shepherd's pie.
A potent potable is my bad imitation of Alex Trebek. That is an alcoholic beverage. The answer we were looking for is Guinness.
Okay.
And before anyone writes me an angry letter, I worded the question, it is not uncommon. I'm not saying everyone in Ireland does it, but I was able to confirm that enough people do that it's a thing in Ireland. So the answer was Guinness. All right, so at the end of round 4, you have 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points, which is one of the higher scores we've gotten. So congratulations to you. And before we let you go, I'd like to know what you're doing for Christmas this year.
Well, we're going to celebrate it at my sister's house, like we always do. She's got 3 young kids. Mm-hmm. And so we all go over there, have dinner, open gifts, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds super. Now, are you going to be wearing that sweater that you have on now?
Yeah. Yep. Probably. I've got this one, and then I've got a Deadpool Christmas sweater that gets rotated into the mix.
Well, if you happen to care to share a picture of that on the Facebook group, I'd be happy to share it with everyone else. By the way, guys, if you're not in the Facebook group, come on by. It's just a bunch of fun people who love talking about Christmas. Really nice, warm community. So I hope I can welcome you there sometime soon. Hey, look, I hope you had fun watching that, everybody, but I'll bet you'd have even more fun if you played along yourself. So shoot me an email to christmaspastpodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment below if you're interested. But for now, let me say thanks once again to Joe. You're a great player. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And thank you very much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.